Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle a big topic. How do you actually take an AI model from the lab and get it out into the real world? We're going to break down the whole complex process of AI deployment into a clear strategic guide, using some key frameworks to help light the way. So you think you're ready to deploy your new AI model. But hold on. Hitting that Go Live button isn't just about flipping a switch. It's a whole strategic journey. You absolutely have to ask 4 critical questions first. Why are we doing this? What are we using? How will we do it? And maybe the most important one, are we really sure this is a good idea? Answering these honestly is what makes a deployment successful and, just as importantly, responsible. Our journey today breaks down into 4 main stages. First, we'll talk about the blueprint. That's all about defining your why. Then, we'll get into choosing the right tools. The what model is best for the job. After that, it's the build-out, the how of implementing it. And finally, we'll cover the critical final inspection, answering that big question, are we sure this is safe and ready to go? All right, let's dive right in. Okay, first things first. Before a single line of code gets written, you have to do a use case assessment. Seriously, this isn't about the tech just yet. It's about making sure your AI project is actually viable, that it's responsible, and that it truly aligns with your business goals. This is the foundation for everything, and I mean everything that comes next. So how do we do that? Well, a fantastic tool is the NIST AI Risk Management Framework. NIST is the National Institute of Standards and Technology, and their guide is super helpful. It basically gives us a clear 3-step process. First, you map the context. Figure out all the moving parts and identify the risks. Then you measure those risks. You analyze them, you track them. And finally, you manage them by creating a solid plan to deal with the most important ones. Map, measure, manage. Simple. And this initial assessment has to go deep. We're talking about more than just business objectives. You've got to think about the ethical side of things, potential biases, potential harms. You have to consider vendor lock-in, and this is a big one. You have to look at your own workforce. Is your team ready for this? Do you need to think about reskilling or upskilling? Because remember, responsible AI is about people and processes, not just the technology itself. All right, with a clear use case locked in, it's time to open up the toolbox. We need to pick the right AI model for the job. And to do that, you've got to understand the options available to you. So the first big choice is between classic and generative models. Classic models are kind of the old guard. They're task-specific, they're deterministic. Think of a decision tree that decides on a loan application. But then you have generative models, which are the new power players. These are the ones that can create brand new content, like a GPT model writing your marketing emails. 2 very different tools for 2 very different jobs. Next up, you've got this really crucial trade-off, proprietary versus open source. A proprietary model might be incredibly powerful and come with great support, but it can also be a black box, which makes it really hard to audit. On the other hand, open source models are amazing for transparency and innovation, but, well, now the responsibility for quality control and security is all on you. And that brings us to the final choice in our toolbox. Do you need a model that only deals with text, a language model for something like a chatbot? Or do you need a multimodal model that can handle text, images, audio, and even video all at once? We're talking about the engines behind things like image captioning or sophisticated video analysis. Okay, so let's move on to the build-out phase. We've picked our model type. Now we have to figure out how we're actually going to deploy it and, maybe customize it to fit our specific needs. Where you deploy your model is a massive decision. The cloud is great for scalability and keeping hardware costs down. But if you have really sensitive data, you might want to go on-premise for maximum control, though that means a big upfront investment. And then there's edge computing, where the processing happens right on the device. That's perfect for things that need super low latency and privacy, like robotics. Now, what if an off-the-shelf model just isn't quite right? Well, that's where fine-tuning comes in. This is where you take a powerful pre-trained model and you retrain it on a smaller, specific set of your own data. This is how you teach a model the specific jargon of your industry, turning it into, say, a specialized legal or medical expert. But there's another way. It's called Retrieval-Augmented Generation, or RAG. Instead of totally retraining the model, RAG basically gives it an open book test. You connect it to a live library of your own trusted data, like your internal company knowledge base. This keeps its answers grounded in fact and seriously reduces the risk of it hallucinating or making things up. It's a game changer for customer support bots. And that brings us to the final and maybe most important stage before we go live, the safety inspection. This is our last chance to make absolutely sure the system is safe, compliant, and actually ready for the real world. Now, this is not just a friendly suggestion. For any system that's considered high impact, regulations often require you to do a formal algorithmic impact assessment. You have to document your risk management, you have to prove there's meaningful human oversight, and you have to evaluate the system's impact on fundamental rights. It's a big deal. As new laws pop up all over the world, they pretty much all share the same basic idea. They classify AI by risk level, and they put strict, non-negotiable rules on the people who deploy them. The bottom line is, AI oversight is no longer optional. It's the law. So here's the final crucial takeaway. Before you flip that switch and go live, you have to do your homework. A truly successful AI deployment isn't just about what the model can do. It's about doing it responsibly, safely, and legally. So as you think about your own AI journey, what's the first check you're going to make?